Today we celebrate Divine Mercy Sunday, the second Sunday of Easter. And in the liturgy today, we see one of the resurrection stories, the appearance stories of Jesus, and this time to the apostles in the upper room. And the first thing that jumps out at me as we read the gospel from today is the fact that they're still locked up in the upper room. Even though Mary and the other Mary had come running to see that they had discovered the empty tomb, they had seen the Lord. And even though the disciples on the way to Emmaus, once they discovered the Lord and the breaking of the bread, they came running back and told them what they had experienced, the apostles were still locked up because they feared. They feared that they might encounter the same fate as Jesus. They feared because they still had not personally encountered the Lord. And so today Jesus appears to them. The risen Lord appears to them. Peace be with you. Peace. He repeats several times. And he shows them the wounds in his hands and his side. And he said, see, it is I. Do not be afraid. Thomas wasn't with them that day when Jesus first appeared to the apostles in the upper room. But when Jesus appeared the second time, Thomas was there. And the first thing that Jesus said after once again wishing them peace was, okay, Thomas, come here now. You said you won't believe until you touched and saw my wounds. When I'll touch them, put your hand into my side and believe. And then Thomas made the profession of faith, my Lord and my God. Sometimes I think we give Thomas a bum rap when we keep saying, calling him Doubting Thomas. Yeah, his faith wavered. He doubted until not much more than the other apostles who were slow to believe until they actually saw the Lord. Thomas made one of the clearest professions of faith in the Gospels, my Lord and my God. And he would then go on, eventually, to fulfill the mandate that Jesus gives them after his appearance. Go now and tell all the world, announce to the ends of the world the good news. And tradition has it that Thomas carried the gospel to the subcontinent of India, where his boat traditionally is said to have landed, where he preached and brought the gospel to India centuries before St. Francis Xavier, and was buried there, known as the Apostle of India. Today, as we reflect on this reading, it is noteworthy that the wounds of Jesus are specifically mentioned and highlighted. That somehow recognizing the wounds and touching the wounds of Jesus is an entryway into belief in the risen Lord. Pope Francis, when he reflects on this particular reading of the appearance of Jesus, the apostles, and the invitation to touch the wounds of the Lord, he says that we are called to touch the wounds of the Lord in our lives, that we don't have to go very far to touch the wounds of Jesus. And he tells us that the wounds of Jesus are in all those who suffer, for all those who are lonely or hungry, to those who lack shelter, to those who lack health care. All we have to do, Francis says, is to go out into the world and touch those wounds and to see and to recognize through them the presence of the risen Lord. It was when Thomas touched those wounds, in a sense entered into them, those wounds from which the precious blood of Christ flowed forth, cleansing us of our sins and freeing us from suffering and death. It was his entrance way into belief. As it was, you might say, for St. Francis of Assisi. Remember, when he touched the wounds of the lepers, the result was a great transformation in his own life. And that's what Pope Francis says. He says, we are called to be the caress of God for others. We are called to be able to kiss the wounds of others, and in them to recognize the presence of the risen Lord and to bring God's love and mercy to them. Today we celebrate Mercy, Divine Mercy Sunday. You know, it was hard for all of us, I think, not to be able to participate in a live Easter celebration where we could celebrate with joy our faith in the risen Lord. But we were called, I think, this Easter to go into another dimension, to go deeper, to be able to recognize how the love and the mercy of God continues to flow forth in our world today. The Acts of the Apostles, which we read all during this period of Easter time, relate how just ordinary people, fishermen, ordinary people were able to do extraordinary things after they encountered the Lord. And we see that all around us. We weren't able to go into our churches to celebrate, but yet every day we see how so many people are touching the wounds of Christ and the sick, who are caring for the sick and the dying, and our first responders, our nurses, our doctors, the police will keep our city straight, city streets safe. There are so many manifestations of how the mercy of God continues to flow through the wounds. We encounter Christ by touching those wounds, and when we touch the wounds of others, we become instruments of that mercy for them. As we celebrate Divine Mercy Sunday, we pray that we will also be able to be conduits, messengers of peace and reconciliation. Now in our own families where we are all hunkered down, but someday the pandemic will end or subside. We'll be able to unlock the doors of our upper rooms, and we'll be able to go out into society. We'll be able to begin once again to take up our activities, our work, our studies, our meeting with friends and activities of all sorts. Jesus said to the apostles, I go before you into Galilee, and there you will see me. Our Galilee right now is where we are sheltered down. But tomorrow, it will be in the galleries of our everyday world, our everyday activities. And I pray that all of us, strengthened in our faith and trust in God by all this experience that we've been living through for the past month or 5 weeks or more, that we will go forth renewed, and we will become conduits of the love and mercy of God, living icons of God's love and mercy.